Hi, welcome back to West Coast Geeks. I'm your host, Joaquin. How we doing, people? Today we're doing a quick video called Spelljammers Adventure in Space, the worst space battles ever. And to help me navigate through this, Cluster F is my boy Eric.
Up, guys?
What up, indeed? When I told Eric, I go, I want to do this video. I want to do a quick video because then I'm gonna expand on this because I have more experience in playing this than Eric. And Eric, just tell me what you were telling me before about your experience and with Spelljammers and why you didn't play.
I was never really big. I was always in favor of fantasy over Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi.
or sci-fi. And I mean, like I have the original Spelljammer box set and everything. I just never got into it. I know the guy that really wanted to play it he was big into Star Trek and all that stuff. And I was a really big Star Trek fan. And so he kind of was like making it feel that way. And I was like, I have zero interest in this.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was always more, I wanted to be in the fantasy. I want to kill dragons and fight ogres, and I want to deal with some, space snails and stuff like that.
Well, if you would have just looked a little bit further, you could have done all that. And with the difference is, you could have been fighting in a ship, fighting dragons and ogres and stuff. So,
Yeah, but
but go ahead.
no, I'm not a big fan of the stars. Like, if I was gonna do like the space stuff, I'd rather play like a sci-fi based role playing game and stuff like that. Dungeons and Dragons for me was always, I always like the fantasy element as opposed to sci-fi. Now that I'm older and have been running stuff, I could see myself running a few,
Yeah,
maybe a handful of side
side adventures.
adventures. Yeah,
Yeah.
to do all that kind of. It's kind of cool, but yeah, back in the day, I was like, nope, didn't want no part of it.
Okay, so let's see what they've done and why Joaquin and like others are so pissed off.
It's someone's angry,
So the rules for
angry.
combat, you say? The book is vague in general. There are I put no ship combat rules, and the reason why I put that is there are no rules for ship turning, and you're just boarding combat. And so, like, even when they did the videos, they're like, yeah, well, you kind of like you shoot at each other for a couple of turns as you're getting closer, and then you board each other. In second edition, when they did this, they each ship, depending on how small it was, had could turn quicker or move faster. And so if you put your little models down, according to like the D&D rules, you can move diagonal, you could do this, and there's no reduction on your ship in these rules. And I'm thinking to myself, so have these people never sailed in a boat or know anything about boating? Like, you tell me a ship that can just, these aren't TIE fighters and X-Wings ships we're talking about, turning on a dime. And that's what people were looking for. Like people like myself and even other people who were new to Dungeons and Dragons, we're talking like fifth edition new players, when they heard about this, they're like, oh, this is cool. I've always heard about this, and they wanted to play, and they're upset too because they're like, so what do I do with this? Because you just gave me an adventure, which was cool. You gave me a space monster manual, bestiary. That's cool. And when you look at the rules, they're so vague. Like there's no, if you take a certain amount of damage, bad things happen. The environment is it's so vague. Like the different yeah, I'm gonna jump ahead right here.
I
So
think one of the reasons they didn't put all that stuff in, like there's stuff for moving and steering the ship here in the book, but I think they just wanted to keep it really simple. They didn't want to weigh the book down with a bunch of complicated, then it becomes Starfleet battles, and that's a whole other monster.
yeah, but see, that's what all of us were expecting to have some kind of like movement so we could while you're and here's the thing. When it came to Spelljammers, you're going to want to at least spend one battle or gaming session where you're just fighting with ships, and then, towards the end, you get close and you ram each other. Like, you want to be able to maneuver, shoot, and try to outmaneuver each other and have those battles, and we got robbed of that. And so, as you see here, like, where are the weapons? I was telling Eric, I'm like, there's no rules for the muskets. They don't tell you the reload speed. You have to go to other sources to find it. You would treat it as a crossbow. So, then the other big thing, there are no cannons in the game. In 5th edition, there are no rules for any cannons, and nor I don't think they're even mentioned, except for the big wave motion gun that I refer to it as. For those of you who get that Star Blazers reference cartoon, um, there's no rules, like, so you can't buy cannons. And then Eric's like, well, aren't those in D&D? I'm like, where? I know there are
Yeah.
some settings that kind of deal with it, and there are some rules in Dungeon Master's Guide, but I feel like they got lazy and they rushed this. And so the one place that you would think you'd want to find where a cannon should be and musket rules would be in Spelljammers. Am I
Yeah,
crazy?
they could have put that in here, made it a little easier, especially when you're introducing the GIF.
Yeah. I mean, and so in the video they're like, well, you can find these weapons in the bestiary, and I'm like, yeah, but if you look under the musket rules for the GIF, and don't you dare call them GIF, all right? These monsters are not
Plus,
peanut
the other
butter.
half will fight you. Did you read that in the description of the race?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, the name of the race is pronounced two different ways. With the people that pronounce them one way are always fighting with the people that pronounce them the other way.
You know what? That's stupid. All right.
It's hilarious, dude. Here it is. GIF are split into two camps concerning how their name is pronounced. Half of them say it with the hard G, the other half with the soft G. Disagreements over the correct pronunciation often blossom into hard feelings, loud arguments, and headbutting contests, but they rarely escalate beyond that. I thought that was kind of funny. They put that in there kind
That
of as
is kind of funny.
a tongue in cheek, I guess you would say.
They do a lot of that, and I also feel like
Yeah.
they do that at the expense of making fun of older players. What was the one where they had this fairy called Thaco,
Yeah,
and they said,
Thaco to hit AC0.
yeah, and so this fairy, they described him as being rude and set in his ways, and I'm like, really? For 5th edition, it's supposed to be all about inclusion and let's accept everybody for who they are. They're
That didn't
constantly
come till
taking,
later.
yeah, they're constantly taking jabs like that. I'm like, you're making fun of what gives you a job right now. You're welcome. So they really dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. Like, um, they they don't give you rules to like improving your ship like the 2nd edition did. And we're talking like all this information that I'm saying you should add. It's just 2 or 3 pages, maybe 3 to 5 at
It's
the
just
most.
it's super simple. I don't think it's, and I'll say this because, like I said, I never played the original, so I wasn't expecting what they had in the original. This is minimal. This gives you the basic tools that you need if you want to run an adventure in it. But if you're a brand new DM or you're not, I want to say unimaginative, but if you're used to, no, because there are that's how I, dude, when I first started DMing again, 5th edition, dude, I was nervous. Like the
Yeah,
first game I ran, I felt like I was gonna throw up. I'm like, they're all gonna think this is shitty and that I suck. And I was like, man, we were in one of the role playing rooms at Little Shop of Magic, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna fucking puke. Like you get
damn,
nervous
man, you put too
because you
much.
know you want to put on a good adventure and you want to do that. And this, I think the what is the foundations for a really good experience are there, but you are going to have to put in work. You
Yeah,
are going to have to cross-reference different books. You are probably going to have to create your own either tables or methods of, like you said, for upgrading your ships and all that stuff, or go out and get yourself the other box,
yes,
the first edition box set, and combine the two. you're gonna have to be a creative dungeon master if you want that kind of immersion out of this campaign setting.
I
And it's
know.
the same way with Ravenloft. Ravenloft was a little better because it was a really big book
Yeah.
and they did do a lot of good things with it, but it wasn't the first edition box set.
No, it wasn't even the
You
Dread.
know?
It wasn't even the Dread book that they had come out with.
Yeah, the domains.
Yeah, the Domains of Dread. That's it.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is definitely a in the words of the little rock trolls in Frozen, this is definitely a fixer upper.
yeah. I mean, like we're talking about this right now. Like, what are the rules for living in space? There's really no survival rules.
You got the
How
fish
much
suit
food
and
and
the air
water
bubble.
do you need to feed your crew? Not enough information. And when I say for like that, that's like a can be a somewhat simple question. But if
Yeah.
you're a new DM, you're like, well, they got to calculate. They don't want to do all that stuff. And
Yeah.
as a DM myself, I probably wouldn't either. But there are some DMs who would like to know simple information, like what
And
happens, like
what's the cargo hold of your ship?
yeah, like it's not even that. Like this one, I forgot whose channel I was watching. Like he brought the interesting point. He goes, that you never know how much when you actually run out of air after 120 days, people, which is a lot of time. And in this edition, you can jump to light speed. So they basically are taking out all the survival rules because they don't want to deal with it.
And they
Uh,
got air bubbles now.
yeah, so well they've always had that. So a
They
hundred
okay.
yeah, so 120 days you have clean, good air. After 128 days, it becomes stale air. After that, they don't tell you when you lose all your air.
Yeah, how do they create that? Is it a spell? I know there's
You're
the air
supposed to
bubbles a
go into
spell.
another. Well, you can get a spell, but the other one is you can go into another planet, and then the ship, because it's got its
Oh,
own gravity.
replenishes through the oxygen.
Yeah, it replenishes its oxygen, things
Okay.
that way. So that's why I was like, it's not enough information for a new DM to run a convincing game. That was the other thing too. It's like they were so vague with everything. Like for myself or Eric, yeah, we could look at this, get pissed, and then go to the other editions. Or even if we didn't have access to the other editions, could just be like, well, it says here the ship speed is 45, but if it wants to turn and it's a larger ship, it's going to lose half its movement because large ships like the
Yeah,
galleons.
here they
Just
just say, you know what? You use your movement and you move the ship wherever you want. If you're within range, you fire. Super,
yeah,
super simple.
yeah. So there's no maneuvering the ship to try to get these.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
there's
refer
really
to
no tactical
War
maneuvering in this.
like Warhammer. Anybody who's played Warhammer Fantasy,
Yep.
I don't know what they're doing now with the editions, but the earlier editions, it was really about positioning and flanking and setting things up.
Because they were based on war games.
Yeah, and they were based on war games. So second edition did that, but in a smaller version, just to give
Yeah.
you a little taste. And so, those DMs who wanted to expand on it did, those who didn't. You know, like, wow, that's profound, Joaquin. It's like, yeah, I know. I think I saw the sound clip for this video, the sound
Right?
bite. Hey,
Thanks a lot, Sherlock.
yep. So, yeah,
Oh,
thank
the
you,
old
Captain Off.
cover.
Yeah, this is it. So the wrap up. So for more information, to look for the original version for like insight, the book will provide a better understanding of what Spelljammer is supposed to be. Just to give you what's a lot of stuff they left out. The helms. You could have a forge helm. Dwarves had that. They had other helms that were like multi-series. They had like pool helms. They had an artifice furnace, which meant that you could put an artifact in there and the character no longer had to run the helm. And like the cost of it, they're like priceless.
Autopilot.
Yeah. So the ship would just, like whoever the mage is, he would still be in contact with the furnace, but with the helm, but he could
Uh,
still do other things instead of just being controlling of the ship. The other thing you'd probably want to drop in, there are no oh wait, real quick. They also had life jammers helms that drain life. So you would have these undead floating ships that your adventurers would come by and be like, hey, well, check out this ship. And then they get attacked by the undead. And the
Ooh,
undead's purpose was to kill you so they can get the ship to move in a direction. And you could build a big ship and have a lich on there and make the whole adventure about your party just stumbles onto a lich ship. You know, how
it's
cool would that
cool.
be?
Yep.
They also did not include, which I was kind of sad, were the arcane. And the arcane are these space merchants that are all around your galaxy or solar system or whatever. And these are like the space traders that usually can give you a lot of good information or find you hard to find artifacts, or the ones who can give your player characters quests. Like, I need you to go to
Uh,
this planet, do stuff like that. And you don't need the arcane. You know, I'm just talking about for like second edition players like myself who want to throw that in. These are the things you can throw back in.
you
Um,
got space clowns.
I hate you, Eric. Don't ever mention that name. Ever. Eric heard my rant about space clowns. I said, I will never add those to my game. I'm gonna call them something different. And I'm because I'm an artist, I'm gonna create new art, but space clowns. I was like, get
It's
the
not.
hell
I will
out of
make
here.
that from a
And to
character.
me, space clowns, it represents the whole 5e Spelljammer experience. It's just a big joke to them. A big joke. Like, if I had a
Oh my
red nose
goodness.
right now, I'd be like honk. That's what they're, that's their,
Honk.
you know, they're like, here you go.
I have a question. Were plasmoids in the original?
No. So,
Really?
um, the other thing is that they didn't include lifeboats, so you might want to look into that. Oh, and then in this edition, they just said you wherever you think you want to go, you go. So they took away the options for like the star charts and I'm like, that's kind of was part of like Spelljammers. Like, you'd find a new map and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, here's a whole new system that I can go travel to now. And so, like I said, these are other things that you can find in the original Spelljammers. And they had a second book where you could find even more information about combat and other things. It's called the Captain something. So,
Ah.
you know, now that I've beaten down 5e Spelljammers, what did they do right?
That I like?
Yeah, for you.
I actually like a lot of the new races. I think the Astro Elves look really cool. I really like the gifts. I wasn't. Now I love monkeys.
Yeah,
I love all kinds of monkeys, and I wasn't too sure about the Hadozi before. The more I look at them, they're like, oh, they're kind of like monkey mixed with flying squirrel. They're kind of cool.
yeah,
I love the Gith Yankee, the Gith Zeri, the Gith Yankee. I love those. I can actually see myself, like I said, when I was younger, I was like, I'm not into it. I could see myself running maybe a handful of Spelljammer adventures for like have it tied in with the current campaign you for a specific purchase or purpose. Oh my god.
yep,
Like say you have to go to a remote, asteroid or something to recover an artifact or something, or you're chasing a mind flayer illithid who's on the run,
yeah,
or you get stuck on his ship and you end up orbiting for a while. So something like that, that's not going to take a whole campaign, but just a little side distraction, something different.
yeah.
I wouldn't be too adverse to that. I
So,
really like I'm gonna wait to see how they keep doing it with the other backgrounds. I do like the backgrounds that they have here. The Astral Drifter I particularly like. I made a character using that. I find it interesting that they're giving you feats in the beginning. Um, yeah, I wasn't too keen on the Auto Gnome. I thought that was kind of like the Thrive Queen is okay. Plasmoids, they remind me of Schmooze from back in the day. Little cartoon Schmooze. Was that Space Ghost where they had the little Shmoo guy on there? Yeah, I don't think there wasn't a whole lot. Like I said, I don't have a lot to go on. Like I don't have previous knowledge to go on and properly create be properly infuriated like Joaquin.
Yeah. So, you
But I
know,
do like Boo.
yeah, no.
I do.
So, we're gonna wrap this up because we're already approaching like 20 minutes. So,
Oh.
um, yeah, we're just gonna make a quick video. It's like 10 minutes over. um, Everything that Eric said about the classes and the races and the backgrounds, I love all that part. I like the fact that they included a bestiary for the spelljammers, and for all the monsters and new monsters
Yeah.
and all the old monsters they added to it. I thought that was great, and I like the fact that they put in an adventure. So, I'm just more limited at the fact that, I have to look at other sources to have a proper ship combat that just isn't we fire at each other a couple of times that really can't destroy the ship because it's going to take more than that.
And there's
And
gonna be a
then
lot
just,
of footwork involved.
yeah, and then just go straight and crash into each other and that's it. Like that's cool for one time, but what do you
Right?
do afterwards? So, that's it. I'm going to be making other
Yeah.
videos to help improve all the faults with this. So, with that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and check out our Monster Manual series that it will be coming out every Friday. We just dropped a giant. We will be dropping a Giants video this Friday, and then we're moving on to the letters. What was it? H and I afterwards. So check it
Yes.
out, people.
All right, take care, guys.